Well, hey, everybody, glad to be back with you again. And today's topic is why you need to value the grind. David, I don't know what this sounds like, honestly. It sounds hard.
Man, you always make my topics sound like they're terrible,
No, I
Like,
like it.
thanks
I'm
for
like, man,
thanks for
like
supporting the idea. Um,
valuing the grind, though, like how many people do, I guess, is really the
Not a lot,
question.
not a lot. That's why I think it's important, though. I think that's why it's important to talk about because
Yeah,
people don't. And this is the thing, people want to start off. They want to, why do people start a business? Well, there's a number of reasons, right? They want financial freedom. Like maybe you've been working in that job and working for long hours, putting all this time in, doing all these things, and they're just like capped.
right,
They're never going to earn any more than this amount. It's
right.
just
They're kind of in their own grind with that,
right.
right?
They're just stuck there. And it's never going to get better. It's never going to improve. It's never going to it's never going to get up to be a better situation, or maybe they're working for a boss who they just don't get along with. They just don't. It doesn't work. It doesn't. They're unhappy. The boss doesn't treat them well, or maybe it's because you got some bills. And this happens a lot too. Where there
Hmm.
are people who they have medical bills, like they
Yep.
have some medical thing that came along in their life. They didn't have the insurance didn't cover it, or they whatever, and now they got a big fat bill sitting over here that
Right.
somehow they got to pay it, and they don't know how it's going to happen, so they're trying to start a little business to make some extra money to pay the bills or whatever it may be. Or maybe they want to one day own their own home. They've been renting for a long time and they have this dream of someday I'm going to have my own place. I
Right.
can actually say this is mine.
Yeah.
And so there's a number of reasons, financial freedom, time freedom. Maybe you just want to be able to work the hours that you want to work in the
Yep.
schedule that you want to work. um, Maybe anyway, there's all sorts of reasons. They usually circle around some form of freedom,
Yep.
right, in order to do that. But so they're imagining the life they want, they're imagining the freedom that comes with it, all the things they want to do. But what they're not thinking about is what is it going to take to get there.
Yeah.
And this is something that this is the process. And too many people buy into these notions, they buy into these ideas that, wow, these gurus make it
Hmm.
look like I could just throw up a marketing funnel, or I could just throw up an ad and I got all these customers and I got all these people buying my stuff. And it's like magic. You know, I just put up these funnel pages. I just put up, these different things. This is going to work. It's going to be me. I just post these things on social media and
Yep.
people are just going to come running to me. This is going to be amazing. This is going to be incredible. And yet it never quite works that way.
It sure doesn't.
No, I mean, we see it all the time. People chasing we call it's the get rich quick dream.
Hmm.
I want the benefit, but I don't want to do the work. And that could be a number of reasons. That could be because somebody truly doesn't want to do the work, or it could just be that they're busy, they're stressed out, and they don't have time to do a whole bunch of other work.
Right.
They don't have time to dedicate to it. So they just want a fast way to get money, a fast way to get it without having to add even more onto their plate because their plate may be already full. But
Or somebody has sold them that it doesn't take any work.
right, right. All you got to do is work a couple hours and then put your hands out and catch the money.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's how it happens all the time. It's sold. We see people buy into it all the time because it feeds exactly into what people want to hear.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's just not how a business is built.
Yeah.
That's not how it's done. Building a business is really about building skill.
Hmm.
You can build an incredibly successful business, but
Hmm.
to get there, you have to become the person
Yeah.
that you need to be able to do the things that need to be done.
Right.
And that means is that you're going to have to work at it, because I don't really know anybody that just comes out of the womb and goes, I'm a natural born entrepreneur and I know exactly how to do this. These are, well, I mean,
Yeah.
we used to joke, like, we would go to White Sox games when I lived in Chicago. And if you didn't have tickets, there was this bridge that was near the stadium. And you could go there because the bridge was just outside the property of the stadium. So
So they could scalp tickets there.
they were scalping tickets down by the bridge
Yeah.
because it's outside, the Comiskey Park and all. Well, that's what it was called then. I don't know if that's still what it's called. I don't even think. Whatever.
They barely have a team now. They're not very good.
Well, they stink big time, but they probably renamed it through just somebody that gave them a bunch of money.
Sure.
I haven't lived there in a long time, so I forgot. But anyway, you would go there and all these guys would be running around going, I got two, I got two, I got two. And we used to joke with each other. I said, do you think these guys come out of the womb and their first words are, I got two? It's what they're saying all the time, all day long. I got two, I got two. Like, okay. And then you go talk to them, and then, here comes the deal time, man. We're wheeling and dealing now. How many you got? Oh, I got like 20.
Yeah.
You said you had two. No, you had 20. Okay. But anyway, so aside from that side story, which was really a rabbit trail, people don't just naturally have that skill.
Right.
Okay. And this is the thing. If you want to have a business that can take care of you, it is entirely possible to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It is 100% within your reach to be able to have that happen for you. But again, so much of this is when you start the journey, you're not the person you need to be able to make that happen.
Yeah.
You're not the person, and it's not that you can't be the person. It's that you're not that person yet.
Yeah.
Maybe your confidence isn't strong enough yet. Maybe you don't have enough skill in certain areas yet. Then there's some things you just need to learn.
Sure.
There are things that, when we were little children, riding a bicycle looked hard. But now, then we did it a few times and okay, we've got the skill now. Now it's easy. Driving a car. I mean, I remember when my children first started to learn driving a car. I mean, I know you're going through some of those years now.
I got 2 under my belt. One more to go.
Yeah, well, I got all 3. I'm like, all right, I did my time. Now, if you wreck your car, it's on you. Like, anyway, but I did all 3 of mine, and I'm like, when they get in behind that car for the first time, they're terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And they are absolutely terrified, and they're just like overwhelmed at the opportunity.
They realize all the things they haven't paid attention to riding in the back seat for all those years.
Sitting in the back of the car playing on their Nintendo DS didn't prepare them for driving. Yeah, that was what was happening as a child. But regardless, you have to be able to do it. So how do you get there? Well, you have to be willing to do it and spend time every single day learning and growing and developing your skills.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And this is what I refer to when I call it the grind. It's the daily process of showing up and learning. And maybe this is why I tell people you shouldn't just walk out and just declare yourself, I'm going to do this. And, okay. And you'd have no idea what you're doing. You quit your job. You're now out here on your own in desperation mode. Cause I'm like, This is going to get interesting. This is probably going to crash and burn because you haven't built the habits yet. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens when you do the daily grind.
And you don't even necessarily know most of the things that you need to learn until you learn the next thing, right? Like that's what I've experienced is I thought I knew, I knew certain things, right? And then I figured something out and then I was like, okay, now that just exposed the next thing I didn't know that I had to learn and do. And that's an ongoing process. Like you said, it's an ongoing journey of discovery of, hey, I got this done. Okay, well, that's great. Well, how are you going to get people like I use the example, hey, I built a website. I got a website going. Okay, well, now how are you going to get people to visit your website? That's a new skill that you have to learn, right? It's, whether it's marketing, sales, administrative things, whatever.
Right.
That has been a very eye-opening part of this journey for me is each time I learn something and feel like I'm starting to get the hang of it, even master certain things, it basically reveals the next thing that I need to learn and grow in still.
It absolutely is. And that's the process. And this is the grind, is where your skills get developed. This is where you take that first step and you go, like you were just saying, I'm not good enough at this yet. And then you're like, okay, I kind of figured this out. Now I got some skill in this. I now understand better what I'm doing. Because you think about it,
Mhm.
you start off like, I need a website. Well, I have no clue how to build a website. So guess what? I'm going to sit
Gotta
here
figure it
screwing
out.
around, figure out how to build a website. And first, a
Mhm.
couple attempts didn't look great. They look kind of, janky and little
Mhm.
amateur, but you get better over time, and it starts looking
Right.
better and better because your skill level goes up. And then you keep doing it, and but what ends up happening is you form habits, and
Mhm.
these habits are the daily things that you are doing that are going to determine how successful you are. The
Yeah.
habits are the daily things that you're going to do that are going to determine what results you get. Because at the end of it all, you are the product of your habits.
Mm.
If you get up every morning and you eat a junk food breakfast, you eat poorly at lunch, you don't exercise, and you don't take care of yourself physically, odds are you're going to start to add weight. You start to
Yeah.
become overweight. You're going to become out of shape because those habits are driving your results.
Yeah.
And the same thing is very true of your business. If you are learning every single day different things, you are building skill. If you are taking those skills and you are applying them every single day, that then becomes your reality. That then becomes the outcome. If you're taking steps every day to reach out to somebody, to try and build relationships, to try and find ways to develop relationships with people who could become your clients, you're now going to end up with a network of people
Yeah.
that you can go to and getting in front of those people. If you do those daily
Mm.
things, then all of a sudden those seeds have been planted, and there's now going to be a harvest someday
Yeah.
from all
Yeah.
that. So that's a big part of this, is that you have to embrace that daily grind. You have to be willing to embrace the daily process. But there's also, a lot of people say, well, I just want the result. Well, then I guess you can try and play the lottery, because that's where those people go, and 99.99999% of them end up with nothing. But
Right.
but
But I
if you
think,
want,
don't you, but to your point, don't you think that's where the hang up is? Is you mentioned it's daily, right? It's so many of us, we want the big hit, we want the home run, the grand slam, so to speak, and we don't appreciate the singles and the doubles
right,
along the way. And therefore, what I see, and I know you've seen this too, and we've talked about this at times, is how somebody gets really excited. They have a vision. They have a great idea. They have a great, opportunity, and that's legitimate. But it's kind of like the whole gym metaphor, or not metaphor, but reality at the beginning of the year, right? Like they go hard for maybe a week or 2 weeks, maybe even a month, and it's almost like we've seen and had these conversations where it's predictable, like somebody that dives in so hard and we're like, how long is that going to last? You can just kind of tell when certain people, start throwing things out there online, they start saying things, and it's kind of like they make this big declaration publicly, and then all of a sudden it gets really quiet, and a couple weeks later or a month later, and you're like, where did that person go? Like what they had may have even been valuable, but they fade because it's the daily grind, right? The daily discipline is not fun and sexy.
right,
It's just it's a thing that you have to work through.
right,
There's been times I know for myself, even I have said, okay, I'm gonna for the next year, I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna do like a monthly thing or a weekly thing, and it's like I have to really fight myself to stay with it because some things just aren't easy to stay with. But if you're going to be successful, you have to be committed to it.
right. And there's a lot of benefits to doing so. And I'm not
Mhm.
just talking about the benefits of what your business can give you. Okay,
Right.
there's a lot of psychological and emotional benefits that come from embracing that grind and doing it repeatedly, daily, over, and staying committed to every day. I'm going to take more action steps to move myself closer to my goal. I'm going to keep
Mhm.
taking steps over and over, because what happens is you start to become resilient,
Mm.
and you start to develop some mental toughness, because so much of this is, so many people get excited, they want to buy into it, they go with it, and then as soon as the first hurdle comes, things fall apart.
Right.
So as soon as the first challenge comes, things start to crumble because they don't yet have that resilience and mental toughness built into them to handle the challenges.
Hmm.
And that is a part of business. And that is something that I've learned very keenly is that there is going to be, when you, especially as your business grows, there are going to be challenges.
Yeah.
People are going to say stuff. People are going to accuse you of stuff. People are going to lie about you. You're going to have clients go in and all of a sudden demand a refund. And you're looking at them going, you have used every last bit of this product. We have delivered everything you want. And now you want your money back?
Right.
Like, that's absurd.
Right.
Like, we have done everything you asked. And
Right.
now you've gotten everything you wanted. And you still want all your money. Now you want to take us and take all our money, take all the money back.
Yeah.
And then they raise, you know what,
Yeah.
if you don't give it to them.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole thing. You're like, these are the things you end up dealing with.
Yeah.
You deal with, and again, the vast majority of people are good. The vast majority of people are not a problem. They're going to be kind. They're going to be respectful. They're going to be honest and decent. But you're going to end up with some of them in there that you just look at and go, oh my, like,
Yeah.
are you kidding?
Yeah. You can't keep out all the stinkers, right?
Right. There's going to be a few that get through, and you're going to have the resiliency and the mental toughness to handle it in a good way, to not explode, to not lose it, to not go crazy, but to be able to handle it. This is where your character gets built.
Yeah.
This is where you become a better version of who you really are.
Yeah.
The kind of like the David 1.0 and then the David 2.0 versions. And I mean that with all sincerity. And the person that you are 10 years from now better not be the same person you are today.
Yeah. Well, and that's even something.
Sad.
Yeah. You mentioned the 10-year thing. It's like, it's almost, and not everything obviously takes 10 years, but I think that if you set yourself up thinking, if I invest and do the daily grind and do the hard work for the next decade, so that I can have long-term benefits for like the next 20 or 30 years, am I willing to do it? Right. And I think a lot of people, sometimes it's, are you willing to do the work for the next month so that you can start to have benefits? And people aren't even willing to do that.
Right.
So I think a lot of it comes down to, how committed to your dream, your vision are you, whether it's a year, 5 years, 10 years out. And, I mean, it's hard for me to believe. You're well past the decade mark of your business journey. I'm approaching the decade mark in mine. And if I would have, known all the challenges, all the things back at the beginning, I don't know that I would have opted in.
Right.
But I'm glad I did, because when I reflect back and look at where I am today, what I've learned, how I've grown, how I handle things, like you just said, I mean, it's been a great maturing process.
Right.
But if somebody would have said to me, Chris, you're going to go through, over the next decade, you're going to have to really change and grow and face the challenges and all that, that can feel intimidating. Right. And a lot of people would say, I think I'm more comfortable here, even though I don't really like this place. I'm really more comfortable here than getting outside my comfort zone, even though the benefit long-term is massively better.
Right. Well, and it is. And Mark is joking with Mark. I got he's messaging saying, aren't you on a version 11.0 by now, David? I'm like, well, maybe, I don't know. That's stuff for debate. But yeah, I've been on that. But again, what ends up happening is, like, you go through all this and you're doing all these things and you're building your character, you're building your confidence, you're building this thing called grit, which is just your ability to stay with something and to make it to the end. And that's something that I can't tell you enough. The thing, I have become fully convinced that the thing that determines whether or not you will succeed or fail in your business is grit. Will you stay with it? Because so many people build a business, they start something, and they just don't have the grit to stay with it and stay in the game and keep working, keep building, keep growing, keep going. And there's that old saying is, you never lose until you quit.
Yeah.
You've never lost, you will never lose until you quit.
Yeah.
Because as long as you stay in the game, as long as you keep trying, no matter how bad things are going, no matter how poorly it's gone, you're still in the game and you're still trying and you're still learning and you're still growing. And if you develop that growth mindset, if you can develop that, hey, I'm gonna keep learning, and I screwed that up and I dropped the ball and that didn't work, but I'm gonna keep trying. and
Yeah.
like keep getting better. It's the same thing. Like I asked my trainer at the gym, I was like, is there like any way to, because you're in there and you're sweating your tail off and you're like exhausted all the time. And you're like, is there a way to like, and you look at your body going, any day now, come on, muscles. Like, speed
Why
up
do
a
I
little
not look
bit.
like why do I not look like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime?
Right. Like, can you grow a little faster? Like, geez. Like, I'm trying my best over here. I'm working my tail off in the gym. I'm pushing myself to the point where I'm exhausted when I walk out. And I'm like, come on, muscle, let's go. And I asked my trainer, says, is there any way to like speed the process up? And he goes, nope. He just goes, nope. Keep working. He goes,
Yeah.
and I go, because he's like, my trainer is just, my trainer gets confused for Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, you said he's a beast.
He's a beast. He's an inch taller than me and like as a truck. It's just like an absolute truck. He's huge. And he's just like, nope. And he goes, the thing you got to understand is I started when I was a teen, because he's like 31 now. He's like, I've been going straight all the way since. And he goes, I work out 6 days a week, sometimes 7.
Yeah.
And every single day. And he knows he's going. And I'm like, he says, you're in your 50s and you're doing 3 days a week. I'm like, yeah, because I can't do 6. Like, might as well just go buy my casket and then do like, hey, if I'm doing 6, I'd probably just be dead. But he goes, yeah, so you're not gonna get the same results as a teenager would, but you're getting a lot of results. It's there, you're growing, you're getting a lot stronger, but you have to embrace the grind. You have to embrace the process.
But to that point, I mean, you think about it. I think about like, our kids. I got one going off to college. I've got, one entering high school, one in the middle of high school. And, it's the time of year where they're going back to school. And so you see school pictures of everybody's kids, online or whatever. And it's like the kids I haven't seen for a while. I'm like, oh my gosh, they've grown up so much. But I don't see the same thing in my own kids because I've been with them every day. Right. And I think it's the same thing with ourselves is, we don't see our own growth the way other people see it in us. And we don't see our value the way other people see it in us because we're living it. We feel the internal struggle. We feel the daily grind and we feel like we're not making progress, whether it's fast enough or big enough progress. And yet at the same time, there's other people who are watching us and paying attention. They're like, oh my gosh, like, the David or the Chris I knew a year ago or 5 or 10 years ago, like you're so different today. You are, you're so much, hopefully better off, right. And smarter and wiser and all those things. But I think a lot of it is it's the whole thing of it takes 10 years to become an overnight success, kind of a thing, right? Like
I don't
this
disagree.
is what we're talking about.
100% agree. But as you start to go down this process and as you start to build and, because even in the gym, I look at I look at myself. I got, who do I compare myself to? Kyle,
Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, which is like comparing yourself to a professional athlete. I'm like, okay, I still have a long ways to go. And he keeps just telling me, he said, David, the only person you're competing with is yourself yesterday. That's the only person you're competing with. Said, are you a little bit better than you were yesterday? Said, that's all you got to worry about. That's the person you need to compare yourself to. Said, am I better than where I used to be? Am I getting better? Am I getting more skilled? Am I getting stronger? Am I doing better at these things? Am I making progress compared to where I used to be? And if you can keep saying yes, that starts to stack. And you will start to build confidence. You will start to build skill. And what you will then is also start to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
That, you know what, this may be a lot slower. This may be a lot longer. This may be a lot more of a grind, but I can actually do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually get there if I will just keep going and keep working and keep doing the things. So, but the things that you have to do is you can't go into this. And too many people are thinking, the old work 2 hours a day for 6 months and get a 6-figure income. We've seen that pitch.
Right.
We've seen that. And we all know without even going through it ourselves how that's going to end. I'm like, ain't gonna work. There's no way, because that's not understanding the process.
Right.
That is not how this works. That's not how this process goes. And so what do you have to do? You have to set realistic goals and milestones.
Yeah.
You have to be realistic about what's possible. It's not trying to tamp down your dream at all, but you have to break this thing down into manageable tasks. You have to realize that I'm not going to, it's just like you're not going to go from the junior high basketball team to the NBA.
Right.
That no, it's not happening. You're not
Yeah.
there. You're going to get killed if you try and do that. But what you can do is go from bench player to starting lineup. We go from starting lineup to a bigger contributor and so on and so forth. You have to set realistic goals and milestones. You got to break down those goals into manageable tasks. So you got to be honest with yourself. You got to say, okay, this area in my business right here, I need to get better at this.
Yeah.
So what do I need to do? How can I find somebody to teach me? How can I find books? How can I find courses? How can I find resources that are going to help me get better in this area?
Mm-hmm.
How can I find the things that I need to be able to improve myself so that I can become better? So I can shore this up, so I can become more skilled. I can become more solid in this part of my life, and keep breaking it down. And again, it's like, I've jokingly said at the gym, like, a long time ago when I was working with Matt, I said, I'm not good at push-ups. And I'm like, oh, that was the dumbest thing I could have ever said.
He's like, well, let's work on that.
They're like, huh, you're not, huh? And he just gets this look on his face. I'm like, oh, crap. And he goes, well, you know how to fix that, don't you? And I'm going, we're going to do push-ups, aren't we? And we broke it down. And he started me not doing full push-ups. He started me with push-up type exercises to build strength. To get the form, to get he had me doing different things. And then we started going go push-ups on knees and work on that, get really good at that. And then push-ups. And now here we go. And now I'm doing he was 30 seconds. How many push-ups? How fast can you go? And I was getting 20 something push-ups done in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was all just breaking it down into small manageable tasks. Take the first step. Okay, let's get you good at this. Let's get you good at that part. Like I said, and now I've done hundreds and hundreds of those stupid things. I still don't like them, but they're at least possible.
But you can do them.
I can do them now. But and then you have to celebrate those along the way, because that's another part of this process. Is if you don't celebrate the fact that, hey, I did that. Yeah. I couldn't do that 3 months ago, and now I just did it. Yeah. You need to celebrate that, because otherwise what you do is you get stuck in this perpetual loop of, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to get there. It's never going to happen. I'm still struggling. It's the dream is still a mile away, right? And you just feel hopeless, and you lose enthusiasm.
Well, and I'm a self admitted bad celebrator about this, and for me, what it looks like for me is I just move on to the next thing, and so I don't give myself that momentum win, right? Like the win can happen, but I'm like, okay, it's, okay, it's on to the next thing. It's like, I got these other projects, other goals, other things that I want to work on. So it is, to that point, there's a lot of people who I would say are very driven and, action oriented that are bad at this. And it's something I have to really be mindful of. And I'm still not great at it at all. But trying to realize, hey, you accomplished something here, right? Whether it's, you created your course, you wrote the book, you created your sales presentation, you created the speech, you put together the workshop, whatever thing it is that you're doing, those things are big, right? Like the problem is they don't feel big because of the daily grind, right? If you've been working on something for a while, that it doesn't feel like it's big because it's been incremental, success. But we need to pause. And I just wanted to say that because I think a lot of people, I know myself, for me, it's like, okay, check that box. I'm done with that project, moving on to the next thing. And by doing that, I actually hinder my momentum and my progress, not because I haven't done something, but because I haven't kind of refueled myself with that win and celebration for the next leg of the journey.
Right. And that's something that I think we don't understand well enough when it comes to our business, because sometimes we don't appreciate it as much. Because I know like in the gym, Kyle has me do things because he knows having better balance is one of the areas I need to work on, and I have gotten significantly better in that area. Right. And so he puts me into these exercises that are going to test my balance. Like
Mhm.
one leg, do this. Like, oh my word! Like you can't be falling over all the time, and doing this and doing this and doing this over and over and over again. But what you notice is over the time, like I'm not falling over anymore.
Mhm.
Like he puts you in these awkward positions and like has you do these movements on one leg, and then you're like, trying not to do it and fall over. But then all of a sudden you realize one day, hey, I don't fall over anymore.
Right.
I'm doing the whole movement. I'm doing the full thing. I don't lose my balance anymore. I'm solid. I'm steady on my feet. You're going, huh? Well, the same thing is happening in your business.
Right.
You're now having conversations with people, and the conversations are now going a lot better
Yeah.
because you've learned how to engage with people. You've learned how to interact with and reach out to people and have
Yeah.
those conversations in a way that work and are comfortable for you. They're
Right.
within your skill set. You're not doing this in a way that is outside of your skill set and zone. And so you celebrate that, but then you're building, and then when you realize this is working now, I
Mhm.
figured this out. I now know how to do this. Well, you now have a habit.
Mhm.
You now have a learned pattern of behavior that you can repeat again and again. So, like, hey, if I meet somebody who could be a potentially good client, I know how to have a conversation with them.
Right.
I know how now to show them. I know how to hear their needs, their concerns, the things that they're worried about. I know how to properly share what it is I do and how I can help them. And
Yep.
if there's a fit, I know how to invite them in to become a client.
Yeah.
And it stops being this salesy thing. It stops being this sleazy thing, and it just starts to become a natural conversation. Like, hey,
Right.
I can help you if you want. If you'd like the
Right.
help, I'd be happy to help you. Here's how I can do it. And so you know, there's this whole habit that gets built. And now these habits start to replace the habits that weren't working
Mhm.
before. You've now taken the habits that were leading you to results you didn't want, and you replaced them with new habits that are getting you a better result.
Yeah.
And so now these habits are creating a new life for you. They're
Mhm.
creating a new outcome. Because, like I said, your habits determine your results.
Yeah.
If you are doing, like I said, if you eat healthy and you exercise and you're watching your calories and you're doing the right things, your body is eventually going to become more healthy.
Right.
It's just going to be a natural fact of the habits that you are conducting.
Yeah.
So find the same pattern in your business.
Mhm.
Find the things. What do I need to be doing on a daily basis to get the results that I need, to get the outcomes that I want, so that I can have the life that I ultimately want to get to? And if you will do those things, it'll all work. But you have to go into the daily grind. You have to value that daily grind, and you have to do the things that are going to produce those outcomes.
Yeah, and I think that's right. This is such an important topic for all of us because I think that something you just said really struck me was, I know for myself at least, and I see this in a lot of people as well, is it's easy to be busy in our businesses. It's easy to be doing a lot of tasks on a daily basis, but we have to really step back from time to time and evaluate what are the things that are truly moving the needle. What are the things that are truly leading to success? So,
Right.
there were times where I used to create a lot of different like social media memes and I would do a lot of things and they would be, creative. And I had an assistant at the time who really helped me design a lot of these and we'd put them out every day. And I'm like, but then I had to think like, are they generating any leads for me? No. Are they doing anything for my business? No. They weren't bad in and of themselves. They were, I'll say, motivational or, inspirational for people that saw them, but it wasn't leading to results versus taking the same amount of time and doing some direct outreach to
Right.
potential clients and saying, hey, just, would love to set up a call to see, how you're doing with your business. How, is there any way that maybe I could help you with based on your team or whatever? Those, it's making sure you're doing the right things because we can still be in habits of doing, not necessarily negative things, but they're not necessarily giving us the results we want. So evaluating what are you doing that's truly leading you to the outcome you desire. Posting on social media 7 times a day doesn't do that for most people, but yet that's kind of common, you know, best
Right.
practices, so to speak, that people promote out there that if you just post more online, you'll get more clients. Well, that's not necessarily true. And in many cases, or most cases, it's not true. I follow some people on LinkedIn, for instance, that I think they post like once a day, but they're like building an email list of over 250,000 people. They're focused and doing things in a very strategic, systematic way, day in and day out. And the one guy even said, I posted and I shared content for 5 years before I really got the traction. But now in the last year, just watching him, he's gone from like he was building a big list already, but he had like 50,000 email subscribers. Now he's over like 250,000
Mm-hmm.
in like the last 10 months. Like that's 5 times growth, right? In a very short period of time. But it was because of the consistent daily grind
Right.
of what he was doing. And it wasn't just random, right? It was strategic, and he was finding his voice. He was talking to his audience, and he was connecting with the right people. But it took that daily commitment for a period of time, right? For him, he was talking about 5, 6 years now in this journey. And it wasn't that he wasn't having wins along the way, but he's trying to build a very large business. And so he had that, he had gone from corporate job to replacing his income to the 6 figure plus, kind of income. But it took it didn't happen overnight, is my point, right? It was something that, and he didn't just do a bunch of random activity. And that's where I think a lot of us can get caught in that loop of random activity without being strategic about what are the things that really bring the results I want. And I know for me personally, it's not been social media posting, it's been reaching out, it's been contacts, it's been relationship building, it's been finding ways to get in front of different audiences as a speaker or doing, presentations, whatever. So we have to find that in our journey and then be consistent with those things, because then that becomes like the 20% that truly
Right.
leads you to that 80% result.
Right. And last thing I'll add before we wrap up on this is just that there's two things to be able to get to this point to be able to do it, because you have to be able to do it consistently. You have to be able to do the right things on a consistent basis to get the consistent outcomes that you want. And that involves embracing two different things. One is leverage, and another is accountability. Leverage, I mean, having the ability to keep yourself on track.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? What are the steps you're going to take to ensure that you don't fall off the wagon?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is another one of those things. You think, how many people start the new year with, I'm going to exercise, or I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to be on a diet, and that lasts about 2 weeks. And we see it all the time in the gym. All of a sudden you're in January, you're like, where did all these people come from? Like all of a sudden everything is full, and you're like, what? I'm like, and we go, yeah, give them a month. They're like, right. By the time we get to February, they'll all be gone again, and it'll be back to just us regulars. But the thing is like, you have to have leverage, and that means there has to be a consequence for quitting. You have to have some consequence built in that is real and that is meaningful to you, so that if you don't consistently do this and you don't get it done, bad's gonna happen.
Right.
And so in doing so, you have leverage. And then when you have leverage, you also need accountability. And accountability means there's another person in your life who's going to look at you and say, are you getting it done? Because I can assure you, there would have been many days I would have not shown up at the gym had I not had a trainer standing at the top of the stairs waiting for me.
Right.
And I would have had days where I was like, I'm tired, I don't feel like doing it today.
Yeah.
I'm just not mentally there. I'm not going in. Yeah. Except I knew that they wouldn't accept that answer. They would just be like, what are you doing? Get your butt in here. Let's go. Like, that's not okay. That's what, so accountability and leverage. And if you can employ those two things, that will help you keep your daily grind going. You'll work on the things that need to work on. You'll make progress, and suddenly your results will change dramatically in your life. So,
and I'd also say with the accountability piece, it's got to be somebody that truly, like you said, you don't want to not do what you're supposed to do, right? You don't want to not show up. Like there's some people in our lives where we could say, yeah, I just didn't get around to that. And there's no real, there's no real impact there. But I think that's important, and finding somebody that truly that accountability matters. Like you said, it matters, like the consequence matters to you, but it also is the relationship matters to you, that, in your case, it's been your trainers. Like I'm paying them to help me. But how easy would it be to say to your wife, for instance, I don't feel like going to the gym today. Well, she's stuck with you one way or the other. Right.
Not hard at all. In
You
fact,
know,
she sees
what is
me.
she going to do to make you? She's not going to make you do it.
No,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's just something psychologically in this when we talk about accountability. I think that
right,
make sure you're finding somebody who isn't going to let you off the hook, who's going to be willing to challenge you, and you're going to accept that challenge because, you know, I don't want to, there's so many things when I commit to something, I don't want to show up and having not done it.
right,
However, how many of my home projects get stretched out for months and months at a time that aren't really, you know, urgent to me, and yet there, and because there's not a real consequence other than
right,
it's a
right,
nagging thought. So
right,
it's that kind of thing, folks. Get the right accountability. Get, you know, and this is why we created Design Launch Grow is we have the training, we have the coaching, we have the community piece of each of this program because you want to show up and give progress updates and get the support
right,
you need to go to that next step with us as coaches, but also with the people that are also in the program who are cheering you on and helping you.
right.
David, I don't know if you want to speak to that as we kind of wrap up either.
No, I would just say, yeah, that's a part of it, having the community and having a coach. I mean, that is how do you develop those habits? Well, you develop those habits by learning the appropriate things you need to be doing. So you first of all, you got to know what those habits even are. You got to
Mhm.
know what the right things are that you should be involved in and what you should be doing. Once you know that, then you got to have people holding you accountable and keeping you in the game, which means coaches and community, which are the things that are there. Like the coach is going to say, "So how'd it go? Did you get it done?" And the community is going to cheer you on when you're feeling like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can keep going. Like I'm tired. I don't know if I can keep fighting. And they're gonna say, yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Keep going. And that's what we do. That's our mission. That's what we're about is helping people get their business done instead of it being a dream, instead of
Mhm.
it being something out there that just kind of fantasizing about maybe someday I could have my own dream, my own business, and I could have these things for myself. Or you can build daily habits, get somebody who's going to work with you, hold you accountable, have that coach, have that process in place that gets results because
Yeah.
the habits determine the results, and we can help you build the habits, help you build the steps and the things that you need to do so that
Right.
you can then one day be the type of success that you want to be.
Yeah. So, folks, if that sounds like something you need, that you want to be a part of, check out designlaunchgrow.com. We also have some free resources on our website that you can check out, some free ebooks David has created with some additional training. So, check those out at designlaunchgrow.com. And we'd love to have you in the program. But even if you need to take some initial steps to kind of just get moving, check out those free resources because they will help you start to think about what are the things I do need to do to develop the habits that are going to lead me to the results I want. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.